Hello, everybody.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Mirel. So basically for pre-A1 status, it's the same template for all the exams. The very first thing that we picked up is the examiner always greets the student when they walk into the exam room. This is to create a positive working or like positive speaking environment, basically. For the first thing they do in the exam is the examiner worked around auxiliary verbs. So she presented a picture, sort of like, for example, in a living room, and she was asking students, the student, where is the TV or where are the flowers? So she play around some auxiliary verbs there. So second part of the test was she used flashcards and she worked around prepositions, asking can you put this object under the table or on top of the table? So she was eliciting some vocabulary and that first part of the test. And Anga is going to take over from me.
Hi, guys. Okay, the last part is just personalizing the test, because the examiner is actually asking the learner what he likes doing, what he likes playing. She even asked, are your friends, are boys or girls? So it was more of, I guess, a personal touch to the whole exam. And that's it.
And it's really the first productive part of the exam as well, isn't it? For most of the time, it's following instructions and responding appropriately. So yeah, as Michelle said, where is the boy, for example? They don't actually have to speak to answer. They can just point, they can show. Yes. And then placing the preposition card, following the orders with the prepositions to put the card on the picture. They don't need to speak. So it's only later in the exam that the productive capabilities of the students tested. But guys, that's a fantastic presentation. We've got off to a great start. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
And then we move up and we go up. Senya, where are you going? It's not the end of the meeting. Next, we've got A1 movers. And for this one, I think I've allowed screen sharing. So see if it works.
Where's he going?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Hope
Hello.
this is working. Yeah. Okay. So for the A1 movers, I'll do the first half, I guess.
Have you got something you can share on the screen?
Yes.
I can't find mine. It's gone.
I have it open. I don't know how to. Do I just send the link in the chat?
Nope. If you click on the green button at the bottom of Zoom that says share screen, it should let you share the screen. Philip's got it. Well done, Philip. And then if you could click the present button up at the top there, that would be grand. And hopefully we will see the presentation. Look at that.
Okie dokie. All right. So yeah, for this one, Philip, you're gonna have to maneuver it then.
Okay, sorry. How do you do it?
Yeah, the start of the exam, the examiner started with asking, what's your name? Student answered. How old are you? Student answered. Nothing fancy. But the first part of the exam, so the next slide, Philip. They had two different photos with differences in the photos. The examiner started by giving an example of the differences and then asked the student to describe differences within the two pictures. So pretty straightforward with that part.
Then the student was also describing positives and negative ways of saying, describing certain objects in the pictures, saying where there were differences. And then next came a kind of storyline in pictures. So about 6 pictures with a small story of a picnic and some children playing outside, and there's a dog with them, and people neglect to keep an eye on the baby, and the mother sort of loses touch, but the dog has its eye on the baby and goes and saves the day. And the student has to describe how the progress between the pictures goes in terms of a storyline. And that's all quite good. And then comes series of 4 pictures together where the teacher explains that the first one, he sort of presents the example that there are 3 pictures all to do with one sort of category of action, and then one picture is completely out of line. In fact, he starts with some simple pictures of fruit with a book involved and points out that the book doesn't fit. And then the student has to produce his own differences in following sets of pictures. That, I think, was about the end of the picture thing. And then the teacher starts to ask the student about personal questions about his own family.
For example,
asking how many people are there, what are the siblings, the parents, who is the oldest in the family, what are all their names. And it's really fairly simple, just like that, getting quantities and descriptions across.
Good.
Anything to add, Marco?
She's sorry. No, thank you guys nailed it there. So I do wish I could have got to take a little bit better, but you guys did a great job.
I think you've done a great job with the presentation. Well done, all of you. Well done. Very good. One thing to point out very quickly about the odd one out part. So you've got the 4 pictures and one of them is different. There's no right answer. The student just has to justify their answer. So they're not going to fail the test or lose points if they choose the wrong picture as the odd one out, as long as they can justify it. So like for the example, the 3 fruit and then a book, if they'd said one of the fruit was different, maybe it was the pineapple, because if you threw a pineapple at somebody, you could blind them, but you can't blind them by throwing the other 3. They've justified the answer. They've used language resource to do it, so that's also fine. So in the classroom, it's nice to do this kind of category odd one out sort of game, where you take a few objects and you ask the students which one's different, and they have to give you reasons why. So it's a nice kind of simple activity you can do in a lot of lessons to add a bit of exam-based of an approach. But well done, guys. Movers, done. Flyers next. If you're ready, you can share your screen. Have we got anyone from the Flyers side? We've got Marcel. Do you want to try?
Right, let's try and. Oh, she's got it. Well done, Marcel.
It's coming. It's coming. I'm sure it's coming. There we go. Brilliant. So, you press the present button.
Yes. There we go.
Oh,
Okay, so we have A2 flyers. Oh my goodness, can I go to the next? Yeah, there we go.
Ooh, look at that, this transition.
Yeah, I had some extra time. So, very similar to the movers, we also started with some personal questions, I guess, just to introduce yourself. What's your name? What's your surname? How old are you? So I guess in preparation, if you have a class of a few students, you can have them practice these questions with each other by asking them or having them ask the questions and answering the questions within the classroom, I guess. Adeline, you have anything to
Yes, we said yes, that we will break them up in pairs and they can practice this dialogue between one another regarding introduction.
Great idea. I like it.
Right. Next. Picture comparisons. Adeline, you want to do this one?
Yes, so there was a thing with two pictures. They were similar, but with some small differences. We noticed that the examiner actually gave the student some hints. For instance, my boy is doing this. What is your boy doing?
Good. If I could just interrupt very quickly, the examiner's not giving hints. The examiner's making it more difficult than the movers exam, where there's more than 4 differences in the pictures. There might be 10 differences, but the examiner is referring orally to their picture. So there's a receptive component. With the movers, you just look at the pictures and say what's different yourself. But for the flyers, you've got to listen to what's in the first picture, identify it, and then produce the difference in your own picture.
Yes. Yes, and then she had to then compare and use the language. We would have done the same thing in an activity to, you know, have 2 different pictures and also have them describe, or I will call it still a hint in a way, you know, to put their focus on a certain area in the picture and compare that.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we call this convey information. So the student and the examiner both had 2 pictures, also very similar. The examiner had information about one picture, and the student had information about the other picture. So the examiner asked questions to elicit the information about the picture from the student, and then the student did the same to get information about the picture that the examiner has information about. So they have to practice to answer short or answer questions with short answers, and then to ask questions to get information and specific information. So they had to ask, wait, what did they ask? No, I can't even remember. About what the person does, I think, is it a big or small person, something like that. So they were asking questions about specific things in the picture and specific information that they wanted to get.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there was a story, a sequence of pictures, and the student had to create their own story. The examiner in the beginning gave a bit of a, you know, a storyline, a short storyline, and then the student proceeded to continue the story. The examiner also asked certain questions. For instance, are they happy? How do they look? You know, so in order to describe. And then as a practice, we would have done the same type of exercise where we would have different pictures in a sequence. Perhaps we would have varied it by not maybe saying a storyline, and let the students use their imagination and create their own story and proceed from there.
Very nice.
And then the last part was questions about where the student lives. So about their school, their hobbies, birthdays, families, holidays. So it's more personal questions about the student himself. So it's more about understanding and responding to personal questions. The questions were also more open. So not just short answers that was expected, a bit more information that I guess the examiner wanted to elicit from the student.
Very good. Wonderful. Thank you very much, Flyers team. You've done a super job with your presentation. Excellent. Okay, unfortunately, we're running a little bit low on time now. So we'll go speedily on to the A2 key and then the B1 preliminary, but the faster the better, I think, at this stage. Anyone watching the video later can always watch it at reduced speed. So A2, here we go. Look at this, we're flying. Yeah, and then you want to click the present thing over on the side there.
Like a flyer.
That's it.
Flyer.
Off like a flyer. That's the key.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do introduction questions. Introduce yourself. What's your name? How old are you? Where do you live? Topic 1, they said now we're going to talk about food. Ask some questions about food. What do you usually eat? What time do you usually have breakfast? What did you eat for lunch yesterday? Who cooks for your food? Who cooks food for you? My bad. Do you like to eat with friends? Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. Topic 2 is you're asking now where you're going to. Now where you're going to. Now we're going to talk about. Excuse me, clothes. What clothes do you wear to school? What do you wear to a party? What clothes do you like to buy? Who buys your clothes? Okay. Right. Yeah. Topic 3, discussion time. The students will talk together, and we didn't get to finish it all, but obviously students will talk together about what they like and dislike sports. There was a picnic, what they like to do, activities, sports as well. There was swimming, skateboarding, there was a picnic, there was cycling. They had to ask each other questions, who likes and why. One said they liked cycling because it's what they like doing. The other one didn't like going to a concert, because it was boring. Yeah, and one of them didn't like swimming because it was boring, etc. Okay. Okay. Sorry, go on.
There we go. Okay, brilliant. Well, it's nice, to the point. It's really good. One thing to note then, that when we get to A2 key, it's the first time in the system that we've got 2 candidates instead of just the 1 and the examiner. And also it's the first time where we can really see that, well, like with the flyers, I mean, when we get to A2 level with the flyers and the key, we're looking at interaction of some nature involving questions, and question forms are difficult for students. They don't do a good job generally, so it's very important we give them practice. And now, with about 4 minutes still on the clock, we've got our B1 presentations. You're raring to go, so share that screen and let's see what you've got for us.
Yeah, pictures are everything. Right, so it was pretty straightforward. There's 2 examiners, 2 students. They open up by doing interviews with each other, asking questions about their life, just priming them for the actual exam portion.
Mm-hmm.
Second portion is giving the students each a picture, and they have to describe what's in the picture. Third portion is they are given a group of pictures together, and the students have to discuss it with each other and come to an agreement about which is the best activity. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. I like it. And we've got all those. We've still got all of those links, so that if you want to see more examples, you just go over to YouTube and you type in the name of the test. There are lots and lots of videos there. It's good to see what the students have to do so that you know what you need to teach them. But I think we're on top of it. We've got a great idea of how we can help our students progress through the ranks of these different levels. And that is a job well done.